Hi, I'm Derek with Keep Austin Neighborly, and I have a guest in the studio today, Kelly Wourms, who I've been working with for the past year and a half, and excited to have a conversation about what we've been doing and how we think it can change how Austin works from a helping standpoint. I kind of wanted to ask you first just about your backstory and how you would describe what Austin Bicycle Meal does at this point.
During the pandemic, I heard about this group called Bicycle Meals in Koreatown in Los Angeles, where I was living, and decided I wanted to get involved. It synthesized a couple of things I was always interested in, volunteering and riding your bike. And so cut to a year and a half later, I'm having a great time doing that, but I want to leave Los Angeles and move to Austin. I went to the guys that run the group out there and said, hey, I kind of think I could do this idea out in Austin. There's a lot of bike people. There's a lot of unhoused folks that I feel like we could serve. What do you think? And they said, sure, whatever, go ahead. We'll see you later. I don't think they really thought I was too serious about wanting to do it until, I get there and in October, and then in February, we start Austin Bicycle Meals in 2022.
So you moved to Austin in October of 2021?
2021,
Okay.
yeah.
And then 3 months later?
Something like that, yeah.
Started it.
There.
What exactly is Austin Bicycle Meals? What does it do?
Austin Bicycle Meals is a community organization. We ride around on bikes and give supplies and food directly to unhoused neighbors that we come across on our ride. It's usually a hot meal, usually a bottle of water. Feminine hygiene kits is something that we have as well. So tampons, pads. We have dog food for any critters that we run into. We have dog treats. We have, it can sort of vary upon...
I've seen blankets, coats, socks, like all kinds of different things.
And local businesses will donate stuff too, or even people will bake cookies for us to pass out, or we'll get pastries from Flat Track Coffee. We've passed out cold brew coffee before from Desnudo. We've passed out hand warmers. We've passed out popsicles in the summer. That's always a very popular one. And yeah, there's sort of no limit to what we'll try and pass out, but usually it's something small, something that's easily portable, and just able to be carried on a bike. We don't do a lot of like blankets or tarps and stuff like that. We will if we get them, but it's much better going to Austin Mutual Aid or Street Forum, groups that have a larger infrastructure and usually use cars to get into these encampments, but we can carry everything else basically.
Now, is that one of the key things that differentiates Austin Bicycle Meals from some of these other organizations, is being able to access spaces that other organizations may not?
Yeah, when we first started working with Food Not Bombs for our meal supplier, they came out on a ride and they had been doing all their distribution by car. And their one comment to me was, wow, it's so much easier to do this on bikes because you can just ride directly into a green space or an encampment or wherever and have everything there available to somebody. With a car, you've got to pull off on some, exit or park your car illegally or something and get out, and you might be in danger of being hit by another car or something. And when you're on a bike, you're able to take the sidewalks, you're able to go wherever in a safe way and get directly to the people that you're trying to get to.
So it's kind of the ideal way to distribute much needed goods within an urban environment.
I'd make that argument.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it makes a lot of sense. These bikes are already being designed now in a way where you can bolt racks onto them and baskets and whatever. And it just seems to me like, why don't we, if we're already building up our bikes like this, why don't we, load them up with supplies that people could use and go directly to them.
Now, something you said a second ago was that it's the unhoused population is the majority of who y'all serve. On the rides that I've been on, have seen a variety of people. What would you say about who you actually serve and also where you are serving?
Yeah, and there's degrees to it too, and we have no type of person that we're looking for. We'll give out a meal to anybody who wants a meal, and I'd say that there's degrees to houselessness as well. Some people are living on the streets, some people are living in encampments, Some people are living in their cars. Some people are on the brink of losing their place. And so, if somebody asks us for anything, we'll give it to them. We don't feel any type of way about it at all. That's sort of how I feel.
Yeah, I found it interesting, and I think one of the biggest, like the coolest examples that I've seen was we've hit that bus stop
Hmm.
by the courthouse, and in going to that spot, we'll kind of be stationary there for a second, and you'll see people coming off of the bus. I think I saw a woman and her two kids who did not look homeless. It looked like she might be just on her way home after work or picking up the kids or doing whatever, and may not have had time to make a meal. Grab some
Yeah.
and move on. So it's been kind of fascinating to witness that side of things, is that it's not just addressing the unhoused, it's addressing food insecurity. And y'all are doing something very powerful to address that.
No, exactly. I mean, if somebody needs something, who are we to say, no, you can't have that. We're saving it for somebody else. Like, all I care about is that the supplies are getting out there to people that need them.
And right now, where do you typically do your rides?
So we have two rides. We have a Saturday ride and a Wednesday ride. Both of the rides typically head towards downtown. We'll go towards the central library. We'll go around the courthouse, but there's no set ride on any of our rides. We could sort of be wherever and service whoever we come across. And I feel like that's the niche that Austin Bicycle Meals really falls into. Is there are a lot of other mutual aid organizations that help, all the larger encampments that we might see, or folks that are up and down the 35 or 290 or whatever. Where we come in is going directly to the folks that might not know what they have access to, as far as like services and that sort of thing. Um, and it also allows us to be really flexible. On our Wednesday ride, we got flagged down almost immediately by somebody who was waiting by the train station there, and he spoke no English, but still was like, "You guys, I see what you're doing. Like, come with me." And so we said, "Okay, we're gonna follow this man that we just met to wherever." And he ended up leading us to an encampment that was deep within a green space we wouldn't have found otherwise, and we were able to go back to that place time and time again and serve those folks who were back there. And they're always super appreciative to get the help. I don't think many people go back there, and he was able to realize, like, oh, I have other people I could help by flagging down these bike freaks.
That's something too that I've seen as I've been on multiple rides, is a lot of these people are kind of hiding, right? They don't want to be seen. They're constantly going where their city is doing sweeps and moving their stuff or taking it away and moving them. So you do see quite a few people that are finding spaces where they're not going to be seen. And that's something that I've noticed as well with Austin Bicycle Meals being so regular. I mean, y'all have been out there every Saturday for 2 years. I haven't seen you miss one, which is absolutely impressive. But what that's led to is a general trust with the people that you're serving. And early on, I didn't see that as often. Like, there were people who looking at you like, "Hey, what are you doing here? What are you trying to give me? Is this food safe?" And now that y'all have been doing it for a long time, they're doing stuff like that. They're asking you to, "Hey, come help these other people." Or we were out the other day and there's someone who was like, "Hey, you have dog food? We've got a friend who's 4 blocks over that could use some." So you're seeing people register that you're going to be there every single week. That consistency has built a lot of trust, which I think is really, really important to accomplishing the mission that y'all are doing, and finding these people who may not necessarily want to be found but still need help.
Yeah, well, and I mean, being in a place like Austin too, where the city and the police are openly hostile towards unhoused folks, and it is illegal to camp outside in Austin. And it's just frustrating for us, because that was what we were trying to combat in the early days of doing this, is just letting people know, we're not here to harass you, we're here to help you. And it's just unfortunate that, like, that exists, and that's a problem that we have to deal with. But I think that it just really highlights the need for, groups like us and Street Forum and Austin Mutual Aid going out there and helping unhoused folks regularly and giving them what they need.
Do you have any idea of how many meals you've served over the past 2 years?
I think it was 2,000 meals the first year and then 3,000 meals this past year. So I think we're hovering around, it's definitely over 5,000
Yeah.
that much I'm very confident of, but tough to get metrics because it's always changing, how much we get every week. But typically we do anywhere from 50 to 80 meals on Saturday, and we do about 100, 125 meals on Wednesday.
Yeah. And that Wednesday ride is a little bit newer. The Saturday ride's been going on for a long time. But I think it's important to get back to how it started.
Yeah.
And in the beginning of this, there were no partners providing meals. It was just you and Claire going to the grocery store on Saturdays, making the meals on Saturdays, and then leading the group on Sundays. How did that kind of start out? And can you give me a little bit of the backstory of how it's evolved to where it is now?
Yeah, I mean, it was really just kind of a do-it-yourself kind of operation. I had this idea, and I was able to beg Claire to help me, and I was really funding it out of my own
Claire's your
pocket.
partner?
Claire's my partner, yeah, and also co-founded Bicycle Meals with me, and it was just really you know, funded out of my own pocket in our own spare time, and we were just trying to be as consistent as we could. And there were a few Saturdays that we missed in the early days of doing it, but since we've been able to partner with groups that have provided us with meals and supplies and donations, we've been able to hit every single Saturday and every other Wednesday, and I think it's soon going to be every Wednesday now. People are starting to ask, "Hey, so is it this Wednesday or is it next Wednesday?" And I'm like, "Okay, we gotta start doing that all the time." Yeah.
How did it feel taking the initiative to do that, to start that? I mean, you moved to a new city in October, and 3 months later, you decided to start a community initiative. Did you do that to become a part of the community? Did you do that because you immediately saw a need, or why? Where did that inspiration come from to take that responsibility on, that challenge on?
I don't know. I don't even think I registered why I was doing it. I just knew that I said I was going to do it and I wanted to do it. I wanted to get out there and help folks. I saw how it had changed my neighborhood in Los Angeles, and I wanted to do the same here.
What did you
And
see there?
well, I just saw a community of folks that would that were just consistently going out there and helping other people in a way, and without any mantra or dogma attached to it. It was just people helping people. And even if like we're not out there and we're going to change their lives or pull them out of homelessness or anything, we're going to make their day a little bit better and ensure that they have food for that day. And it's tough to put a metric on, but I think that you just see how it helps people from a day-to-day basis. They just, that anxiety of not knowing where your next meal is coming from is, at least in that moment, nullified.
I think some things don't need a metric, right? Helping one person just have a better day sometimes is enough.
I think so too. And it's like not even like I think that's why I have a hard time even saying why I started it. I just felt like I needed to, and it needed to happen, and I could do it, and it was within my power, and why shouldn't I? You know? Um, but
What's
it was definitely tough.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, how did the transition from y'all basically spending 2 days a week doing this, making the meals, paying out of your own pocket to do it? How did that transition happen to where you're at now, where there are food partners and other partners at this point in time?
Well, it came from just talking to our volunteers and us just getting burned out. I mean, it's tough to sacrifice your weekend every weekend. You know, we've got to go and do the shopping, come back and make all the meals, package everything ourselves, and then organize the ride, get out, do the ride, and then somehow find time to enjoy the rest of your weekend. And it was just too much. We were getting to the point where I think it was like 4 or 5 months in, something like that, where I couldn't do it anymore. I mean, it was too much to ask of not only myself, but Claire every week to just give up our weekend.
I mean,
And
you're in the film industry too, and I think around that time, things were on strike, and you weren't working a whole lot, and you're still trying to do this. Is that
yeah,
accurate?
well, and I mean, I just never know how busy I'm going to be or how long I'm going to be there for. And I booked a feature last year and I was gone for a month and a half. So I really have to rely on Claire and our other volunteers to run the ride for me when I'm gone. And I think being able to just reach out to our volunteers and say like, hey, we're having a hard time. I don't know if we could do this. It would really be easy if we could break this up somehow, get the meals from somewhere. And we had a volunteer, Andy, who just saw a need in that moment and was like, oh, I work with this group, Food Not Bombs. They have a capacity to make all these meals, but they've been having trouble distributing them. And I think it could be a relationship that would work well together. And so we reached out to them and went and saw their operation and talked to them and saw what we could do to help them out. And ever since then, we've been able to get anywhere from 50 to 80 meals and to distribute on Saturday.
Every Saturday.
Every Saturday.
They've been a consistent partner as well.
They've been a super consistent, and it's been a symbiotic thing where they were having similarly a hard time, and I think being able to divvy up the responsibilities has allowed both of us to be a lot more, and it's not like they weren't consistent, but it's allowed it to be so much easier for us to collaborate and work together.
What did it feel like when that collaboration came into play?
It felt like a cheat code in a game. It was crazy. It was like, oh, wow, all I have to do is get the ride together or buy the water and run the ride easy, no problem. And that's honestly what it feels like now. We have so many people reaching out to us and wanting to help, getting in the Chronicle, and just having that visibility helped out a lot. A lot of the videos that we post through Keep Austin Neighborly has helped as well. Just put out exactly what we need, and if we have a problem, we can go directly to social media and ask people. And it always amazes me seeing how people will come out of the woodwork to help us on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I think that's key to what your part in this has been. Is y'all have been consistent. You took the initiative to take the lead and the leap to do this thing and to stick at it. And one of the things that I find fascinating about it, especially from the Keep Austin Neighborly perspective, is the power of storytelling. That coming in here and doing the work is one thing, but the time that it takes for that to bleed out, especially if you're new to a community, to help build that community, could take a really long time. And it might take longer than you have to do this thing before you get burnt out. So these type of efforts can fail very easily because they're not getting supported quickly enough to kind of beat that burnout phase of where someone has the initiative, they have the energy to do it, but they're not going to be able to sustain it in the way that they're doing. Creating those partnerships is a key aspect. And to me, at least from my perspective, and I don't know if you share this being in the film industry, of how powerful storytelling is, it provides the ability for a multitude of people to see this act happening and to see what's involved in it and to see how they can participate in it. And that, to me, is a very integral part of building these partnerships. So what's been your experience from that perspective? How has storytelling and marketing played a role in helping to build Austin Bicycle Meals into what it is today?
I mean, exactly that. I mean, it's just being able to get your story out there, and not only do that, but get you in contact with the right person or the right organization that aligns with what you're trying to do, has been integral. I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do another day or, where we were able to talk to Our Shared Kitchen and work with them without storytelling and getting on social media and getting loud and talking to people, and just letting them know what we're about and how consistent we are. You can do it all day, but if you're doing it by yourself and other people aren't seeing it, then, it's always going to stay at that level, I suppose,
Has that been challenging from like a humility standpoint? I've found that helpers are usually people who don't necessarily want to be seen. They just want to go out there and do the work. So it kind of is this, there's a tug and a pull. There's some tension in between telling the story about what you're doing and being humble. How have you dealt with that? Or how have you felt about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough line to straddle. You want to tell people what you're doing, and not only that, but in order to get them to come out and help you, but it's tough to, take a selfie and at your group and be like, hey, come out and join us, and not have it feel like, look at us, look at the good thing we're doing. It's not really about that. It's just, hey, look at how easy this is. Look at how little you need to come and participate. Show up. That's kind of all it is. But it's really tough to do that and be humble about it.
You made a request on social media where you're asking for a location. That's a point that it seems that y'all have reached in your growth, is storing stuff, whether that's waters or bicycles to give for people to go on rides, or even the cargo bike that y'all have. That's massive. It has to be transported every single time. In doing that, I think that's the first moment I've seen you step up and go, we need help.
Directly with me on camera. I'm like, for working in the film industry, I'm so much more comfortable behind the camera than in front of it. And it was a real struggle for me to get in front of the camera and say, hey, this is what we need. We would, I don't know. It was really tough for me to do. I don't want to put myself out there like that. I'm not comfortable doing it. And it was a real struggle for me. But I think seeing how it helped us, and people were, again, coming out of the woodwork to help us, and with ideas and people to reach out to, and everything, it was unbelievable. Eventually it ended up really working out where we were put in contact with a group was to store the cargo bike there, all the donation stuff that gets given to us. I don't have to run it out of my house anymore. That's cool. But will allow us to have another cargo bike maybe, and maybe even a fleet of bicycles and racks and baskets. We get so many people who reach out to us and just say like, oh, I'd love to come, but I don't have a bike, or my bike's in the shop, or my bike can't carry stuff, or whatever. It'd be cool to just have all of that available to people. You don't need anything. Show up, it'll all be there for you. We'll have the bike that you can ride on. We'll have a helmet for you. We'll slap a safety vest on you. We'll load you up with whatever you can carry, and we'll get you out there. We'll ride for an hour maybe, and you'll help some people, and you'll come out and do it again, because it's that easy. All you need is your time.
Is that kind of the vision for where Austin Bicycle Meals is headed now?
I think so. I think having it be just a super streamlined, self-sustaining operation will allow us to continue for many years to come. I think that much is inherent just from us working with other organizations, supplying the meals and whatever else we're passing out, so that all we have to do is focus on the ride. I think the more that we can streamline our process, the more consistent we can be, and the more days we can do, and the more people we can service.
And it sounds like partnerships are an integral part of that, to the growth of Austin Bicycle Meals and where it's at now. Is that also an integral part of growing and continuing to create that vision?
For sure. And I think it's a tough part of it too, because this thing, Austin Bicycle Meals at least, is my thing. And I really want it to, I want to work with organizations that feel or are complementary to us. That's why I like working with Food Not Bombs. They work to reduce food waste. They get all of their produce from grocery stores that are about to throw it away. They'll take that, repurpose it into hot meals for people, and pass it out there. Keeping food out of landfills, keeping people fed. It's something I really vibe with, and I think I want to work with more organizations like that. Desnudo Coffee donated a bunch of cold brew to us. They work directly with farmers back in Colombia and teach them sustainable farming practices in order to get higher yields on their crops and better yields on their crops, and ultimately a better product. And it's two brothers and their cousin who work there. I mean, I just love working with organizations like that. And Our Shared Kitchen is unbelievable. Ari, who runs that group, she does hundreds of meals, 4 or 5 times a week, something like that. It's psychotic, and she knows almost everybody that she services by name, and knows what they prefer. She's constantly switching up her menu. She
I've
does.
seen birthday meals for people when I'm out there, which is unreal.
It's unreal. I mean, just and those are the people I want to work with that are so passionate about what they do, and like really, you could tell just really care about giving quality products to people, not just. I've worked at food banks before where you're packing boxes and that are going to be somebody's groceries for the week, and it's just 5 heads of lettuce and some Hostess cakes and
or
something
sodium
else.
and sugar.
Yeah, and it's just like I would be pissed off if I got this. If I'm going to be spearheading the charge here for my own group, I want to do something where people don't groan when they see us coming. People are excited. Oh, what do the bike freaks have today?
And that takes me in a little different direction. You kind of outlined the partners that have helped on the food side and the supply side.
Mm-hmm.
What has the cyclist community done to participate in this, and how, I mean, you're an avid cyclist. How do you see that combination between the cycling community and people who want to help, or blending those two things? What does that look like from your perspective?
It's really been unreal, and I think really falls into the whole just getting loud on social media. The one thing that really helped with us was going and meeting at Cyclists when they were still around, and Eastside Pedal Pushers, just anything we can do to get more on social media. This is where we're meeting up. If you're a bike person, we're meeting at a bike shop. If there's a problem with your bike, go in. They'll fix your tube for a discounted rate or whatever if you tell them that you're riding with us, or whatever. It's been really integral in just getting more cyclists involved in what we're doing, not just people who are interested in mutual aid, or meeting people too.
Now, is that also a part of it? Because I watched Claire kind of starting out, and she was not a cyclist, right? She was pretty new to riding a bicycle.
She'd tell you that she's still not a cyclist.
Well, I've seen her
so
ride.
You don't have to be a cyclist to join with us. But yeah, I mean, it's been wild seeing people who aren't comfortable on bikes come out and ride with us.
Riding the cargo bike now.
Yeah.
Like that. When I saw that, I'm like, you've transitioned. Like
Yeah.
you were a little shaky on the bike to begin with, and now you're riding this giant cargo bike full of food and everything. I mean, it's kind of shown how someone new who isn't necessarily a cyclist can still participate and become a better person on a bike and get to see the city in a different way and go through that. So yeah.
Well, yeah, we had a church group join us not too long ago, and one woman from the church group rode the entire ride on a flat. It was crazy. I've never seen anything like. You'd see some I don't know, like roadie cyclists just like absolutely not do something like that. Like, I'm walking my bike home or I'm walking it to the shop, but she was like, whatever, I'm gonna ride this flat the entire ride. It was unbelievable. It was super impressive.
So do you see Austin Bicycle Meals playing a part in that aspect of helping people to get closer to the cycling community?
I think so. I mean, I think that getting more people on bikes to think about volunteering as well. Cycling can be such a solitary activity. Or, if you're not riding by yourself, you're riding with a group, or you meet up, you go ride somewhere, you get coffee afterwards, you go home, or you ride your bike to work out, or you ride your bike to work. Whatever the case may be, you're on your bike. You can also volunteer on your bike. You can take this thing you enjoy doing and you can do it, help other people in your community, and you can have fun doing it. I think that riding bikes is so much fun, and it still is, even when you're volunteering.
It's the best part of my week, man.
Yeah.
Every time I go out there, like I have lived in Austin for 17 years now, and I've always ridden a bike around town, and I live a little bit further north, live up near Mueller now, so I don't ride my bike as often because it's further to get to things. On Saturdays, when I show up with my bike and we get to ride into downtown, it is amazing. The bike path that goes through the city is incredible. We stick to that a lot of times. You're just getting to see a lot of areas of the city that you wouldn't see otherwise. You're not going to go driving around in your car in the same way. And the ability to build relationships, chat with people. I've made a bunch of friends out of this. I'm sure you have as well. Mm-hmm. The community you've built is impressive at this point, and it seems like there are relationships that are continuing outside of the ride itself. But also, you were telling me the other day you went to was it a bike polo thing?
Yeah.
And people recognized you. That changes your experience with a city. I grew up in a very small town, and you knew everybody. One of the really interesting things about Austin Bicycle Meals is it is really, as much as it is about helping, it's about building community, and not just with the people you're serving. You call it mutual aid, right? That's kind
Mhm.
of the thought process here. It is aiding the people who are helping or serving as well as the people who are served. I think I see a lot of people coming out that maybe struggle with social anxiety, and being on a bicycle is this way to not have such an intense conversation. You can kind of come in and out of it. But I see that a lot on the rides as far as people are coming to this and they come back again and again because they're finding community there. How do you feel about building that, and also how it's impacted you and your time in Austin?
No, I mean it's really it's wild to see that I would have a part in anything like that. But I mean, I have seen it, and it's wild to think that even some of the guys who were doing bicycle meals in Los Angeles are like lifelong friends. We had Alan from that ride come out on a book tour and come ride with us here in Austin. And Jacob's come out too when he was visiting town, who runs the ride in LA. And it's just been really cool to develop my own friendships and just see other people start to connect the dots on these rides. Like, oh, we're interested in the same thing. Like, why don't we hang out? Why don't we be friends or whatever? It's cool. It's really cute to see. And I don't know, it's just fun. It's nice to see more positivity come from the ride, not just, serving people, like you said. I mean, just even, I don't know, making a new friend or seeing a new area of town or going to get margaritas after, and discovering something new. I don't know. It's just fun. It's very positive.
There's something beautiful about collaborative relationships versus just consumption-based relationships, where you're going out and you're consuming something versus you're kind of creating something together.
Yeah.
And I think those relationships have more depth to them, because you are sharing in this mutual effort to make your community a better space. And that's something that I find really, really beautiful about Austin Bicycle Meals and what you've done. So I'm appreciative for the community that you've built and to be a part of it.
Geez. That's cool. It's it's not something I think about until you have this conversation and you're like, oh wow, you really have kind of built something
You made an
wild.
impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've definitely had an impact. I mean, over the past 2 years, it's gone from you and Claire riding bikes to now, and making your own meals to now. I don't even know how many partnerships are supporting this thing, but there is an ecosystem that's kind of being created or existed and now is being tied together because of these efforts.
Yeah.
And when I look at it, I see cyclists as this very powerful group of people who are very active and outdoors and in the city and kind of the front lines of things. And now what you're doing is pairing that community up with the resources that stand behind it and allowing people access to resources that they actually need. So it's kind of creating an ecosystem, which is fantastic to see. And I don't know what the limit of that looks like. And what do you like getting on to where the limitations are and where you're kind of going with this in the long run? One of the things that you and I have talked about extensively is everybody kind of looks at it as like, when are you going to be a nonprofit? Like, do you even have that desire? What is your viewpoint on going that route where you have now rules and regulations that are surrounding this thing versus just creating a collaborative community initiative? How does that play into your goals and what you'd like to do on your end?
I think that my goal with Austin Bicycle Meals is always to be as DIY as possible. I want anybody to feel like they have as much say over the ride as I do. If somebody's got an idea for an area of town that they want to hit, they can always come to me and we'll plan the ride around that. We'll go hit a different part of town and we'll go service people that we haven't seen. The time that it takes to set up a nonprofit and run one is, I don't think, conducive with my lifestyle or my work or anything. I think nonprofits do some very valuable work and are integral in servicing, our city and community. But I just don't think that that's necessarily the future for us. It's been great working with you and being able to, I don't know, sort of work underneath that umbrella without labeling us as a nonprofit.
Yeah, I think I'm curious at this point to see how many more projects, individuals, small groups are out there that are not nonprofits that are doing good for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I am paying attention to a lot with Keep Austin Neighborly is what happens when we come in and support someone that like yourself and Claire that are willing to actually step up and do the work, because not everybody's willing to do that. I'm not willing to go every Saturday and to put the work in that y'all do for the
You've
rides.
been there most Saturdays.
I've been there a lot of them. I have been there a lot of them for sure, but
Yeah.
I'm not running it, right? Like I come in as a bystander,
Yeah.
filming, I get to leave and go away while y'all are having to deal with the logistics of everything and go through it. But you have been willing to step up in that way. And when we look at it from a partnership, if you look at our shared kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
Ari is really good at getting those meals made. I mean, she has a system down to where she has figured that side of things out. What happens if you have to throw her into more of the back end work? You start to take that person who is willing to do the work, and not everybody's willing to do that. Not everybody's willing to jump on their bike and go ride down an alley where someone just shot up and is not in a good state of mind and have a conversation with them and still offer to help them.
Yeah.
That can be intimidating. Not everybody's willing to do that.
Yeah.
Not everybody's willing to go sit in a kitchen all day and cook meals for nothing. But there are people like that out there. Supporting them, I think, is an important, almost responsibility that our community has that we're not taking as seriously as we can. And I think that's something that we have to be very cautious of, and also looking for an answer is how can we support more people like yourself, like Kelly from ATX Garbage Humans and ATX Free Fridge. How can we support more people like that with the things that they need? And I know in my experience working with artists had a tendency to get success and then they would not be doing the art anymore. And you would just watch depression start to come over them because they're like, I got successful, I'm selling my paintings, like I'm getting everything that I want, but now I don't have time to create the art. And I think it's very similar in this regard is like, if you get so much success and you get dragged down the back end side of things, you're no longer doing what you set out to do in the first place. And there's a danger in that. How can the people who understand those needs that may be required to support an effort like yours, how can they play along, and how important is that symbiotic relationship? Is there something missing?
I just want to ride my bike and hand meals out, man. I don't want to like answer to anybody, you know? And I think Kelly from Free Fridge feels similarly, you know? I mean, the less red tape, the better, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's something that we need to address as a society and as a community if we want Austin to be able to thrive as well as it can. How many people out there are doing something like what you're doing and could use more support? And how many people get to that 4-6 month period of time and then give up? We don't get to see that. I've seen it with multiple friends at this point. It was part of the reason for starting this effort was I don't want to see it again.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see another person step up, and like that takes a lot of effort in itself, start doing the work and then not get the support they need to continue to doing it. This isn't like a business where you've got a bad product. This is somebody helping others. We need every single person that we can get helping. And we want to encourage that behavior in any way we can. So these complementary partners are, to me, an integral part of sustaining efforts like yours.
Yeah, and we could get something new and interesting that we haven't seen before, you know, and not just sort of a general, you know, here's your box of whatever, take it and go, you know, but maybe a more nuanced and a more personalized approach to mutual aid that we haven't really seen before. Yeah.
So on that note, with Austin Bicycle Meals, you talked a little bit about what's next as far as getting a location that's going to expand, being able to hold bikes and stuff. What is kind of not just next for Austin Bicycle Meals, but what can people do to help? Where is that need currently?
Show up and ride your bike with us. That's the biggest thing. Everything else seems to fall into line, you know. If we have volunteers, we can pass stuff out. Those volunteers can tell their friends that they had a good time. Of course, we'll always take donations. We'll always take, you know, water, feminine hygiene kits, stuff like that. Reach out to us if you need more information on what exactly that looks like. But I mean, the big thing is just show up. Just show up and ride with us, and you'll see how easy it is, and you'll see what you can do to help out. And if you can't, donate to us or tell us we're doing great or ask what we need directly. It's always changing, especially with the seasons here in Texas. It's interesting seeing exactly how we can help and how we can fill that niche that we're in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
As far as on that side of things, people being able to help and everything, where can they find your information and where can they reach out to you?
Almost all of our information is all on Instagram, is primarily how we communicate with people at Austin Bicycle Meals. I run the page and we post all of our information on there. We also have a web page through Keep Austin Neighborly as well, where you can donate to us and see our information on our rides.
Yeah, we're just about to have that partner page updated that should be carrying your donation list as far as things that are needed for the rides, as well as contact information, ride information, all that stuff. Y'all meet every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Is that right? And then what's the deal with the Wednesday rides?
And then we meet every other Wednesday at 5:30. And all the information for that, like if you're not sure which Wednesday, just keep an eye on the Instagram and it's updated. Yeah.
Awesome, Kelly. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. I know this has been a long time coming, and I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and have this conversation. I think it's something that's important, and I think our community needs to pay more attention to efforts like this, not just yours, but all the ones that are happening out there. Do you have a friend who's doing something positive and they could use your help in whatever way that you have to provide? So I really do appreciate you coming out, kind of initiating that conversation, and look forward to continuing to be out there on the rides with you.
Thanks, dude.
My brother. Appreciate it.